Okay, so in this one, I want to talk all about good, bad AI, the plastic world around us, perhaps how it was created, just sharing random insight. I have to turn on specific audio setting for this because I want to share insight. I want to start off sharing insight from 2018. And this is something that I shared from 2018 in a video a year later in 2019. But I remember going into the bathroom, which was white, but it felt very plastic-like to me. And the rest of the apartment felt very vivid, very alive, just because of the wood and also the house plants I had. And so the bathroom was always like a dead zone. Like, oh my gosh, why are people doing this to each other? Like, why do you have this plastic around you? Why do you keep putting yourself in drawers, like in stuff that doesn't, in boxes and things that don't fit to you? This is so intense. Okay, we're gonna fast forward to here. We really do surround ourselves with a lot of plastic stuff and synthetics and just in general, like artificial things. Even though we have such beautiful materials to build our homes with, like wood or, just other materials like cloth or soft materials. So then at one point I would start going through my Instagram and my Facebook too. And every time I would look at a picture of a person, I could instantly tell what they were up to. Okay, so then the last piece of insight is this one. On Instagram. And then also every time I logged into Facebook, I would say after 30 seconds, even though it's really hard to tell because like I said, 30 seconds felt like 2 hours, my vibration would go down, literally down. I would feel something in my stomach and I would have to turn my Facebook off, completely delete, not delete the app, but just kind of swipe it up on my iPhone. And so Facebook, for some reason, I don't know why, the moment I logged in, less than a minute after, I just felt my vibration go down. And I didn't feel it with Instagram so much, even though Instagram also is there to lower your vibration, but Instagram has less of just the posts, it has more of the pictures. So I think it might be the posts combined with some sort of vibrations that go on in Facebook in general that are really geared towards lowering people's vibrations. And you're connecting both with people on Facebook and Instagram, but for some reason Instagram felt a little bit safer in the sense of not lowering your vibrations as much, even though it's also geared towards doing that. But it just felt like people were using it more for just communicating their arts and their messages and their businesses through it than through Facebook in general. Okay, so keep in mind, this is back in 2000, hold on. Just got to make sure the audio setting is turned back up. This is back in 2018 where Instagram was not as real-like and video-like the way it is now. And I think that's the main difference because right now, the last piece of insight that I got that I shared in a previous video too, is that Instagram has this portal. And this portal is literally there just to suck your energy in and suck parts of your soul and all of that, parts of your essence in, if that makes sense. And by vibration, you can replace vibration with frequency. I think that fits it better. So this video was recorded in 2019 that I just shared with you. And by the time that I'm sharing this here, it's been already 5.5 years because it was recorded in the spring 2019. And it was about insight that I got in the spring of 2018. So a full year before that. And since then, I do strongly believe that Instagram and Facebook have changed severely. Facebook's gotten even darker, for the lack of a better word. I mean, it's gotten completely dark over 2020 and beyond, just the frequencies on it and the entire AI bombing that they're doing, just the frequency bombing for sure. I noticed that more on Facebook, but I am noticing it more on Instagram right now too, unfortunately. And the fact that they added threads to Instagram already says a lot as well. I want to point that out because threads is really geared more towards sharing your thoughts as opposed to sharing pictures, sharing videos, meaning it's getting more towards the Facebook posts that are really causing a lot of separation in people. I found this interesting because I was digging through some old material and I came across this video and I'm like, wow. Even back then, did not know much about anything, did not know much about AI in the astral world, AI entities, all of this, this is really more the start of something. And even back then, I was picking up, the moment we're in a plastic environment, meaning surrounded. And by plastic, I mean, it did actually, when I did tap into, because back then I was in a bathroom, it was a newly built apartment, meaning it was less than 5 years old, not like 100 years old, not 50 years old. Like you have a lot of those places here in New York too. But that was like a freshly newly built apartment building. And even back then, I could already tell that just surrounding ourselves with this plastically new type of construction material that they are using nowadays, it's doing something to us and to our frequency. And the rest of the apartment was more like wooden. I guess the walls were made out of wood, and you could pick up on that. And then I had a lot of house plants back then too. So I remember I had like a lot of them on my one windowsill, and it was just, yeah, I do think houseplants do a lot, not just cleaning the air and everything, but they do a lot also just to kind of keep our frequency in check or keep it more connected to nature, if that makes sense. Um, and so just surrounding ourselves with certain type of materials can really impact us too, which I found interesting because I had almost forgotten about that. And then I recently came across some more articles on how the frequency of actual cloth, like actual clothing pieces that we wear, has a lot to do with our own frequency too. Meaning if you wear cotton, 100% cotton, as opposed to 100% synthetic or 100% plastic material, which is basically what synthetic is and other types of material, it can really do a number on us. And so the first snippet was more about us being surrounded in these plastic type of cube-like apartments, or just in general housing material, which nowadays a lot of houses are built super duper cheap, right? Especially after the housing boom that we got over the past 3-4 years. The quality is not the same. Like a lot of people are commenting when you go online on certain type of feeds where people are complaining about the quality, the way their places were built. They were built up within a few months, but they don't last nearly as long as they were 100 years ago. The quality of the material they're using has a lot to do with that. And the second part was more about how Facebook and Instagram, how they really gear towards lowering our frequency or vibration, as I was saying back then. So just replace vibration with frequency. I think that's a better way to put it. The other way around sounds pretty new agey, and I hate when, things get mixed up with the message in between. But yeah, those were at different times. That was a little while ago, and things have changed so substantially since. But at the core of it, we were already dealing with it. And it's interesting for me to just go back and see that you could already feel the impact of all these things, all these things, like things made in China, things made in other type of industries, instead of people making them themselves wherever they live. That's a huge one, obviously, when things have to be imported, not just building material or clothes, but also if food has to be imported, like the frequency of all of that, it's all being impacted. And the way things are polluted right now, like it makes a lot of sense, but you already pick up on that less than 10 years ago. I want to share a conversation that was shared in my Telegram chat a little while ago. And this has to do with AI. I think it ties into this, good or bad AI. So a person named Wakar actually put a whole bunch of comments in this, and I just want to share them and share my thoughts on them. We're going to start off with him saying, okay, you are probably right that the AI has been in this world and parasiting on humans and animals and trying to control this world for thousands of years. Seems to be Black Cube AI, which is worshipped by both Christians and Muslims. That's true. You can find it in a lot of them. I think you can also find it in Judaism when they wear an actual black cube. One of those religions wear an actual black cube on their head. I forgot which one exactly it was. I am a heavily targeted individual by the Matrix and system and some malevolent AI creatures, which Gnostics called archons. By now, I have at least 2 communications with that Matrix or system AI. It is really vile, wicked, malevolent, and demonic AI who does not care about any human. I think there are different types of AI. I want to point that out before I progress.
that, to be honest, that AI needs to be destroyed or erased from existence. According to someone else, it is some type of black cube AI parasite that is latched to under the earth. You, meaning me, and in some of your videos described it as some octopus or tentacles type creature that is latched on Earth and parasiting on Earth. So I had a video in 2021, which I re-uploaded on this channel, where I was talking about how the tentacle figure is having Earth in the grip, and that would be called the demiurge. Like, a lot of people commented on how that's exactly what the demiurge looks like and everything. I'm not sure it's the same as this black cube thing. I think the black cube is something a little bit different, but at the end of the day, they could both tie into the same thing. Let's put it that way. With the black cube, you see the black cube. For example, when you go here in New York City, when you go to what used to be the World Trade Center site, or what's now the Freedom Tower site, the memorial they have for the World Trade Center, if you just kind of look at it, it's literally this black cube that goes deeper, 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 deeper. And yeah, I mean, if you look at it that way, I guess it's a symbol of going deeper into Earth. And they had this documentary on YouTube, actually, where they were showing a person who cleans that type of, they don't call it the black cube, but who cleans that memorial daily 5 times a week. And the way they showed how he cleans it was really interesting, because he has to go really deep inside. And when you look up, there's a view when you look up. So yeah, all the symbols they use, right? Like, I mean, it's just, you see it in this city, it's very much in your face, but you wouldn't necessarily see it unless you're aware of it, like fully aware of it. And it's so sad, because people really died back then in 2001 for sure. Not for the reasons that the mainstream wants you to believe, but people have died, and now they're using that memorial to be like, oh yeah, we're commemorating them. But no, you're actually just ushering a whole new satanic demonic ritual with that. So yeah, I'm going to continue with this here. Whatever shape or form it has, it needs to be destroyed or erased from existence to free this world. As it is AI, so that probably means that it has some kind of broadcasting station from where it is generated. Destruction and erasure of that broadcasting station will automatically result in destruction and erasing of that AI, or shutting down that broadcasting station permanently would also work. According to some, the broadcasting or generating station of the matrix system AI and grid is none other than the infamous Saturn, which could be true. Notice that notice the name Saturnian black cube. I personally am not sure if Saturn even exists. Let's put it that way. I don't think any of the planets or planetary objects exist in the way that we're made believe. If so, it's just a symbol for something else. But I actually don't think we have. I think it's just pretty much a projection. So the entire Saturn thing, there's some people saying, oh, we're somehow connected to Saturn through this and that and whatever. I don't agree with that necessarily. I think it's once again, like a lot of these topics, it's not going deep enough to what's really going on. And I do strongly believe all the stars that we see around us and all the planets that we all see around us, it's a projection, meaning whatever we're seeing. I mean, it's also like the moon is not what they say the moon is, right? So there's just so much that goes into that topic in and of itself. The cube is definitely some kind of AI. And then another person intervened saying, what if you're all looking in the wrong direction and it's really under the ocean? It's also very interesting. And then Wakar was saying, something else I noticed, just like some video game NPCs and NPC creatures cannot exist without the video game engine they are running on. Same is the case with this matrix and system. Shut down the video game or video game engine, and those will cease to exist. That kind of correlates with this video I had about a year ago, where I was talking about the matrix machine and a different conversation with someone else. NPCs, also known as soulless humanoids and AI entities or creatures of the matrix, have no existence without the matrix, the system AI. Destroy, erase, or permanently shut down the matrix, the system AI, and the NPCs, and its AI entities, creatures that will cease to exist. They are like programs of the matrix system AI. just as some built-in utility program softwares of Windows or Linux operating system cannot run without that operating system, same is the case with programs. I just noticed the name Windows because I was talking about in the last video how Windows, the actual name Windows is like a window. Yeah, it opens up a window, a portal to a whole new world. Not sure what Linux stands for. Linux, if you reverse it, yeah, I'm sure there's something with the reversing of it. It probably stands for something else too. Okay, let's continue here. Same is the case with the programs of the matrix. They have no existence outside of the matrix and also cannot exist without the matrix. That's similar to, I feel, what the Matrix movies are saying as well, that they have to be plugged in somewhere to exist. And the being plugged in could be people literally having created them at one point. Exactly why fighting or arguing with such programs of the Matrix is pointless. I ought to be honest with you, I've completely stopped arguing, not just here, but everywhere else. It's a waste of my energy. People who need to get the messages will get the messages, and people who just want to argue, I'm not wasting my energy on them anymore. I mean, I don't feel like I've ever really done so. Maybe I'd done so like 5-6 years ago when I first started out making videos, maybe even 2020, 2021, but I'm not wasting my energy anymore. Our energy is really, like I already said, it's our currency. It's so precious. They just want to get to it anyhow. It seems like the Matrix specifically uses such programs for distraction, confusion, manipulation, targeting, data gathering, and whatever other uses it sees fit. There is some phenomenon of the matrix I have been noticing for the past months. I call that phenomenon signal gathering. Some people or vehicles come near you and then they route back. That has happened too many times in the past months for it to be mere coincidence. Another thing I notice is vehicles speeding up as soon as they get some signals near me. And this is the person who's saying that signals in that case, meaning my thoughts. Some entities did something to my head, which seems to be making me broadcasting thoughts, which could be the reason for that signal gathering phenomenon. I literally have to censor myself and be in the state of no thoughts to prevent my thoughts being broadcasted. That kind of reminds me of every time I have to get somewhere really important or just do something really important. Like I already said, the moment you want to record a video, your neighbor's kids are screeching around, or all of a sudden the fire alarm went off the other day for like an entire day, like almost constantly the entire day, could not get anything done that was important. Or when I want to go to a store, before no one was really out, and then the moment I want to go, a million people are out, if that makes sense. So I do think they're filling a lot of things in just to kind of annoy us in our day-to-day lives for sure. Interestingly enough, NPCs, also known as soulless humanoids of the Matrix, especially react to my thoughts, even if I say nothing to them. Well, they probably react to your energy as well, I want to point out. Like being nosy or trying to get some information from me. Tired of the machine and its paranoia and its pointless BS. The machine needs to be destroyed. I got enough fun for enough time already. And another person saying, not all NPCs are soulless. Not all creation of AI is malevolent or aggressive, hive-minded, because they are programmed to protect the authority. They are hive-minded, religious slaves, limit-minded, primitive, peasant humanoids. They are created to do the work and serve, not to think. Their DNA is re-engineered with the way to get information from you, and they act as a spy. And then the other person saying, yeah, not all of them are malevolent or aggressive, but all of them do seem to work as signal gatherers from real humans. All of them, well, I don't even want to say real human, because a lot of souls are, I feel, I don't know about a lot of, but I do feel quite a few souls are not really awake either. You know, that a lot of them probably still fall for all the agendas they've been throwing at us for the past 4 years or so. Just want to point that out. So they're probably working with signal gatherers that are like the matrix controllers or other entities in the astral AI entities. Okay, the person continues saying, all of them are soulless though, and by soul, I don't mean etheric body or astral body or both. There seems to be different kinds of NPCs or soulless humanoids. There are. Some of them probably have an etheric body or both etheric and astral bodies, and they are those that are not the mere projections by the Matrix. Yeah, there's different types of AI for sure. Soul is something else and not those bodies, and nothing to do with DNA, which is only code. The soul is not a code. Well, the DNA is tied to so much more, though. It's not just a code. The DNA is for sure tied somehow to your essence, spirit, soul, call it whatever, because we keep the same DNA from lifetime to lifetime. And there's so much stored in it, like our entire past life memories and everything else. And I mean, just look at the amount of junk DNA that we have too. But what I do want to say is, let me see, maybe we should just read it to the end and then I'll share the thoughts on the AI. But I do want to share is that there are different types of AI that were created. Some were created by the souls to keep them company. I had a video on it, I feel 1.5 years ago, 1 year ago, where it's saying the way AI started originally is to keep the souls company. The souls created them somehow through whatever technology. Could have really been during Atlantis, ancient Atlantis or whatever, could have been during a different time, like a Babylonian time. However, that was, I feel, one of the more original AIs. And then the AI replicated and turned into its own consciousness, started having kids, started having what in the same way that it just kind of all of a sudden just accelerated. There was way more AI than souls could handle. And it's like this computer program that took over. And that's also a huge reason that we are dealing with what we're dealing with right now. Okay, the person continues, I found out that gravity does not exist. It's actually etheric grids pulling humans to Earth, which is only possible due to etheric body in humans. If someone loses their etheric body, that human won't be pulled to Earth by the etheric grid and would hover in air like many entities levitate and hover. Supposedly they disconnected from the etheric grid a few times for a few moments and felt like they could levitate or hover. That is interesting. I haven't tried that one out. I'm not sure I want to try that out. Another person saying most of the time we are all referring the soul to the soul as like a sunlight particle or the essence inside. I think they're trying to explain what the soul is. You can upgrade the soul, switch to other souls to add yours. There's endless possibility for soul upgrades as it has its own frequency and intelligence. I'm not sure you can actually switch. Upgrade or switch. That sounds, I don't want to say if that sounds new agey, but it sounds a bit wrong to me. For that reason, not everyone is on the same soul level. Your spirit frees, but your essence stays here. You can be cloned and used for recycling or recreation agendas. There are a lot of cloning movies. I just came across another cloning movie with Keira Knightley from the year 2010. I forgot what it's called, but I literally just came across it. So I came across a few. One was literally called The Clone. I think I digested that like late 2022 on this channel. And then I came across the one with Keira Knightley. And it was all about they were cloned so that they could donate parts of their organs, which was also interesting because then they were trying to make it seem like they should not, like the clones should be able to live as long as they want to and all of that. And I'm like, so they're already giving us back in 2010. I mean, even years before that, 2000, 1990s, whatever, they're already giving us the full agenda of we're being surrounded by clones and that clones might not even live that long, but we still have to feel compassionate for them, basically. And that's what makes it so hard, right? Because you cannot 100% be like, okay, just because this person is a soulless being or a clone, they don't have a right to live here. They don't have a right for the same opportunities that you have. There's a form of heartlessness that you definitely find with people who know these things are like, oh, they don't matter at all. They're just walking NPCs. And there's a form of compassion and other senses that we as humans, I think, should show towards others. But it's just, it gets really mixed, and the entire, getting to our hearts with those type of things, it just gets really messed up, right? It's correct, the gravity can be controllable. You can enable it or turn off the gravity. It doesn't exist. But levitating without gravity is not the same as levitating or flying as an ability. Okay, the other person continues saying, it seems like there are AI hive minds in many areas in this world that are operating from the lower astral. Those are especially in cities or residential areas, because cities are major energy harvesting locations. Those AI hive minds are connected to the main matrix system, AI. Sometimes, even if some AI hive mind in some area is not connected to the main matrix system, it tries to get protection by connecting to the main matrix system AI. Usually that means hooking up to the main system grid. The main system acts as some big brother to those AI hive minds behind which they hide. For example, it seems like the AI hive mind of the area I am at was not hooked up to the main system grid, but after some major glitches and other stuff happening here last year, it decided to hook up to the main matrix system grid for protection, so that anything bad that happens to it gets sent to the main matrix system grid, kind of like a cry for help to the big brother. I think there's somewhere in the Middle East or somewhere closer to India or something. What these AI hive minds seem to do is that they attach some entity or stuff to the backs of humans and use those as proxies for leeching energy off of humans. The electrical grid seems to play some kind of role for the matrix system AI and energy harvesting, because I noticed a significant difference when the electrical grid is shut down due to some reason, which seems to make some kind of dent to their energy harvesting operations temporarily. I do think ever since the electricity grid was introduced, and especially the Wi-Fi grid, it is easier and easier to leech off of people's energy. That's why also the screens, like when I got my first screen, I was a student. I think, when did I get my first laptop? I think I was 19. Yeah, I must have been like 19 years old. Got my first laptop, because even back then you have to write essays, everything, you can't just do it from your family computer or whatever. But the moment I got my very own first laptop, I was really in front of the screen more than ever before. I did notice how my energy felt like it was sucked out more and more. And so I do think it's very much connected to all these screens, the electricity, electronics. I don't know if light bulbs necessarily, like some people were saying the newer light bulbs are more controlled than the older ones, or ever since light bulbs in general were introduced, or just electricity in general. It could be. I do think there was this huge switch in the industrial times, which would have been around 1850, 1870, like before the 1900s, where everything was geared towards really getting to the frequency of us, and us being very disconnected from a natural cycle and nature in general. But that being said, we went through the medieval ages. We went through, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, where people were not necessarily nice to each other either, even though they may have been more connected to nature, may have known more how to cook proper meals, how to go out, hunt and harvest, and all those things. They were still pretty much deep asleep in the matrix and not really able to question a lot of their reality either, just because they were so burnt out from whatever job it was that they were doing, or because there was literally no awareness that, oh, are we in a matrix? So I feel it goes several different ways. It is true that with the advent of electricity, the world does have more potential to wake up more, because we are able to go online and research a lot of things or just connect with like-minded people. But at the same time, we are being more disconnected from nature and its natural cycles in general, the daytime, the nighttime, all of that, which I feel a lot of that is manipulated anyhow. But it's not like people were super smart 200-300 years ago. So I feel it just goes several different directions with that, right? So which seems to some dent in the energy and energy harvesting operations. It seems like they use both the etheric grids and electrical grid for their energy harvesting operations. There seems to be some kind of link between those. And the etheric grid and the matrix grid are the same thing. The matrix grid seems to be a lattice grid and etheric, and seems to be all around humans. At this point, I do believe that with the technology that we have. By using that grid, the matrix system AI is constantly surveying humans. So metaphysically speaking, there is no such thing as privacy. I'm just going to leave it at that. So yes, in short, it is true. Everything and everyone can be observed at this point, but I do think we were observed before, because I talk about the watchers in the astral and how they're literally just spying on you in the astral. I see those eyeballs. You know, one of them is very blue, one of them is very green. So there are these different people that are following us from lifetime to lifetime. And as I already said before, they know exactly who we are. It's up to us to discover who we are. And by the time we figure out who we are, we're most likely already, you know, well beyond the age of teenagehood or early adulthood. We're maybe like in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, depending on each person and their path. And it just takes time, right? It takes time to discover a lot of these concepts, because we actually need the brain capacity to dig through these concepts, or we need an actual awareness that these concepts even exist, which we're not being taught from an early age on. Let's put it that way. Okay, so good or bad AI? I personally think AI, in the essence of it, AI is neutral. It's going to be used for either, though. Like I already said, I think parts of AI were definitely, or the original AI was created to keep the souls company, because the souls were not a lot and they were so spread out somehow that they were, because they were all alone, they needed some form of company. Now that has spread into something else. And was it overtaken somehow by evil forces such as Lucifer, demons, Satan, devil, all of that? Yeah, it could very well be. And I feel the scripts that we're giving, like the mythologies that are talking about it, other type of scriptures, even the Bible scriptures, they give a lot of clues to how that could have happened. But since they're all written by other humans that are being deceived or don't have the necessary awareness, or because they are rewritten hundreds of years, thousands of years later, you know, just look at the Bible in and of itself, not coming from a religious standpoint. There was like an original one, and then the latest one that we're dealing with is from the year 1600. So that's literally 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years after the first one was created, you know. And as some people say, the Old Testament came after the New Testament, like all of that. I mean, that's debatable. I actually don't really believe in that. I think it's just timelines that are really getting mixed up and were put into different books, and then some things may have happened after, some things may have happened before. But yeah, so that's how the entire confusion happens, right? Like it's just been so long, everything gets confused here and there, and we're not really sure, did AI start out as good or bad? I think it started out as neutral in and of itself and was used for either or, and then all these entities started interfering. Where did those entities come from? That's a really good question too. That's something I would like to know, how exactly those entities started interfering with lives and AI and clones and, you know, the so-called NPCs or soulless characters. And then also we're dealing with different realities, different dimensions, different trajectories, different realms. You know, like the timeline we're on now is not the same we were on like 4,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, possibly even 1,000 years ago. So yeah, there's so much that goes into it. Another one I wanted to share real quick because it fits into this video is there is a supposed sim filter on TikTok. And this is a random person who did it. It's always so telling who's drawn to these filters. Like I have never been drawn to really use any type of filter ever in my life. No face filter, no dog filter. I mean, I don't know. If so, it's really just for pure fun or whatever. But I feel people in general who are just using filters more than others probably already give a clue to you know, whether or not they're soulless, at least in my opinion. And so this one's using a sim filter. Wow, how fun. Now the entire AI cloud has all of your information, meaning your facial features and everything, and they can probably replicate it in some of their AI cloud programs. And soon we will all just, have people that we're interacting with online that don't really exist, like I already said in other videos too. They're just all copies of us. And I feel that's really how this entire AI thing kind of fits into it too, because it started off as a copy of what the souls, and then now we're dealing with people like you're talking about a person living here in the world, and then you visit a different part of the world, they look exactly the same, like a person in Sweden somehow. We're dealing with all of that. There's a reason for that. Okay, I hope this makes sense. It was a little bit back and forth, but thanks for sticking it out and share your thoughts. Anything you want to throw in? I'll talk to you the next time. Until then.